Selena Thomas carefully got into the front passenger seat of Klein Wisch's hovercar, awkwardly buckling up the safety harness. The overnight stay at the hospital had been rough on her in more ways than one, and she was in dire need of repairs and detailed diagnostics. Currently, she was clad in a slightly scratchy synthetic fibre hospital gown that a nurse had gifted her. Her oil-soaked dress had been ruined far too much to repair and had to be thrown away. She liked that dress too. "How are you holding up there?" the sturdy Nimian asked, as he got into his seat and buckled up with ease. "All right. No use of the safety restraints," Selena answered after a moment. Her movements sluggish, jerky and uncoordinated, still struggling with the harness. "They go like this," he said, and buckled her into the alien seatbelts, instructing her as he did so. "They're pretty easy to put on, but I can tell you're just having trouble moving." "Yeah," Selena said, as she relaxed into the old seat and slightly frayed upholstery. "My hydraulic pressure is pretty much non-existent, and I need to let my body heal from nerve shock." Klein started up the old vehicle, keeping the conversation going. "Not much can be done to help nerve shock, just time. I know how it feels, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone." He let the vehicle idle for a moment, listening to the machinery and looking at the readouts on his dashboard, then began to drive out of the parking garage. "Sounds like you need a new vehicle," Selena said, steering the topic of conversation away from herself. "Oh, yeah, this is a moving scrap pile," Klein said, agreeing, driving out to the garage, as he had already paid. "I'm saving up for a new one. I'm thinking of a Terran import, actually." "I'm not sure what's available, but get a Kenmore if you can. It needs a little maintenance, but it's no Ford or Volkswagen, and is mostly compatible with GSA components and not loaded up with bloatware." "I'll keep that in mind," Klein said. "Thanks for the information." "No problem," Selena said. "I wanted to bring my Kenmore with me, but it was too expensive, especially with all of my other equipment I needed to bring, so I gave it to my friend. Got a lawyer friend to make sure no one paid anything for the name transfer." "That was nice of you. Where did you live again?" Klein said abruptly. "I know it's out east by all the farms." "That's right, way out in Plucleet, not too far from the vertical farming districts." "That's a bit of a drive." "Yeah. I needed a place where I could put all my machines with room to expand. An apartment unit wouldn't let me do that. I'm looking for a plot of land, though, big enough for my future medical office and spaceship." "Gerd told me about that. Void Hopper, right?" "Mm-hmm. I'm learning to pilot it. I had a lesson today, but I had to cancel, for obvious reasons." "Just get an AI to fly it," Klein said, pulling onto a main street, but not yet on the Skyway. "Why did you three get targeted anyway? Sorry, I've been wondering about that since I heard about what happened." "I thought about getting one, and I may just do that, but I want to be able to fly it in case something happens," Selena said, then paused and thought about how to answer the second question. "About that, I'm not sure what I should tell you." "Does it have something to do with you being a bounty hunter? I missed the broadcast, but read up on it." "To a point," Selena acquiesced. "Rutek and I took down someone that made a lot of money for someone else. Now I have a price in my head. I'm trying to figure out who put it there, and local security are useless on that. I think it's because I'm an off-worlder." "That could be a possibility. Locals here particularly dislike our system residents. As one myself, I know how it is." "Where did you come from?" "Nimei, originally. But I was a Titan-class freighter water sanitation specialist. Decided to set up roots here after a pirate attack. I was nearly spaced due to hull damage. Fuck doing that again." "I don't blame you for wanting to stay on the planet after that," Selena said, adjusting the safety harness so that her breast fit better between the strange restraints, and no longer uncomfortably squished. "Is that where you met Gerd?" "Yup, she was already a tech here and a native. She's part of the 3 or so % of sprouting residents in the entire system, and good in what she does." "I've heard, and I hate what happened to you two. Gerd wouldn't stop going on about it." "That was utter nonsense, the whole thing," Klein agreed, now pulling onto the main Skyway and setting a cruise control up at a legal speed. "Now we have species-specific suits, and the Overseer has a black mark on his record. So I suppose some good came from it." "I didn't know about that last part," Selena said. "I'm glad discipline was meted out, though." "Same here, anyways. It's going to be some time before we get to where you live. Might as well get comfortable. And I hope you like Gallows Rhythm," Klein said again, turning on the radio to a local station. "Up next, Filth, the breakout song by Necrotagion. They've taken the walkthrough system by storm again with their newest album, Resuscitation Fallacies. Don't forget to stream their concert and use the passphrase Wasted Groupie for a 15% discount on the premium package. As always, unredacted and uncensored here at Daq Symphonia. And up next, Carrion Wings by Carrion Wings.
Don't know if I do. I haven't really listened to local music.
Oh? Well, this is something that's become popular in the last few solar cycles, but has been on the fringes since before I've been here. Interesting stuff. The sounds that lended themselves to filth were heavy and warbling drones, synthetic tones, and real vocalization screaming. The lyrics, wholly heard in almost too quiet whispers, with an undertone of some kind of bizarre yet real alien piano, held mildly political undertones, bespeaking of a very poor man needing a cybernetic brain computer implant due to an industrial accident caused by cutting corners. The man then, bereft of tactile sensitivity and emotions, went insane and murdered the board of the company he worked at, only to commit suicide because his life partner no longer recognized her insane lover. The song was intentionally left open to multiple kinds of interpretation. Carrion Wings was a masterpiece as well. The Omdera singer, Sairi, had mastered her species' traits of triplicate vocalization, similar to that of Terran Fro singing and such mastery thereof, using independent vestigial vocal cords responsible for primitive echolocation, as well as other musculature movements of her species' throat and mandible. Carrion Wings differed from the previous song in that it was an emotional ballad about two long-distance lovers of fictional Xenos. The male, a species capable of flight with grand feathered wings, Xenos' homeworld, was attacked, while the other was visiting for the first time, and the two never got to meet, except as he lay dying in her arms. The visitor, taking the remains of her lover with her in her starfighter against protocol, went on to decimate enemy forces, guided by the decaying wings of her lover. She died a slow death in space after the final battle, her craft without fuel and no hope of rescue. It was a sad, mournful song. Selena fell asleep listening to the alien music, as Klein drove her home. It was nearly 2 hours or so before Klein parked his old hovercar in front of Selena's home, guided by an automated mapping system that gently shook the slumbering Terran awake. "Hey, we're at your home," Klein said to her, gently shaking her shoulder as he did so.
"Hmm?"
Selena said, in a dazed tone.
"Oh, sorry, I dozed off."
"We're at your house," Klein said again.
"Oh, okay,"
Selena said, then tried to stretch, her limbs grinding, the gear slipping in various places.
"Sorry, reflex."
"It's fine," the big man said. "Let's just get you patched up."
"Speaking of that,"
Selena said, getting out of the hovercar with slow, deliberate, and shaky movements.
"Do you think you can reattach one of my arms if I tell you what to do? My coordination is pretty shot, and I'm not sure if I can do it."
"That won't be a problem. At least, I don't think it should be one."
"Thanks again for everything,"
Selena said, as the two of them walked up to her door, inputting the passphrase, "Down X, right left R1, right down, up triangle." The door opened with a high-fidelity, upscaled retro game tone of some kind. A cool blast of climate-controlled air greeted them as the door opened, a welcome respite from the summer heat. Walking downstairs into Selena's workshop, Damon spoke up, his digital voice oddly feminine, still holding that sarcastic quality Selena had begrudgingly come to love. "Is that you, Selena? You sound positively dreadful."
"Yes, it's me, Damon,"
Selena said, walking to her patient's chair and sitting down in it with a sigh.
"I have a guest, and you sound pretty. How did you manage that?" 1,000 hours of various Terra media and my own personal adjustments," Damon said. "I'm glad you like it. I'm going to render an avatar in due time, though I did know you had a guest. I heard the bulky Nimian."
"I'm not fat," Klein said with an indignation.
"I never claimed such a thing," Damon replied silkily. "I said you were bulky. However, if you deny that you are fat, perhaps you are." "Don't mind Damon. He's a very sarcastic ladyboy AI," Selena said, before Klein could come up with a retort. "Anyways, my spare should be next to the wall with the extra pulse pistols."
"That's a male AI? I thought it was a female. Also, extra pulse pistols?" Klein asked. "Wait, never mind. I'm sure I don't want to know."
"It's why I'm having difficulty rendering an avatar," Damon said. "My initial moniker does exist in Terran vernacular. However, it's a derogatory term for a certain group of people. I am tempted to register my avatar based on that fact. I do like challenges."
"Found it," Klein said, taking the case over to Selena and putting it into an open space as he opened it up.
"I've got a quick release mechanism on my prosthetics. Twist the rotating gear and pull the tab. The limb should pop right out," Selena said to Klein, then addressed her AI. "As long as it doesn't interfere with your duties, I don't care what kind of avatar you choose." "I thought as much," Damon answered. I've yet to finalize anything. However, I do have those documents you wanted me to craft. They are pending your review. Thank you, Selena said, as she watched Klein work at replacing her nearly useless prosthetic with her simp-skin one. You're doing a good job. I didn't expect you to be able to do this without guidance. It was part of the required training when I was a spacer. I had my specialty, but I had to be able to do a semi-passable job at everything else, just in case. Saved my hide more than once. Well, I'm glad it did, Selena said awkwardly. It took some time, however. Klein had replaced both of her arms without any real incidents or hassles, the simp-skin prosthetics needing to be installed a certain way. Damon remained silent during this period, simply observing. That should do it, I think, Klein said, as he finished up locking Selena's left arm into place. That's so much better, Selena said. If you don't mind, can you go upstairs? I want to put my legs on privately. Not a problem, Klein replied. But if it's all the same to you, I think I'll make my leave. I've got work in a few hours, and it's on the other side of Tower V. Thank you again for everything, Selena said. Let me pay for your fuel. It's the least I can do for all you've done. That won't be necessary. Please, I insist. Okay, Klein relented, giving her his payment information. Once that was done and Klein left, Selena stripped out of the hospital bottoms, leaving herself nude from the waist down, and began the process of attaching her legs. The work itself was quite routine for her, leaving her mind free to wander without problems as she performed her task. Many things went through her mind. How were her family and friends doing back on Terra Prime, if her Uncle Robert finally put in his retirement forms? How was the Omara on Mars? How was her cousin, Nivea, on Luna, with her ever-improving gumbo restaurant? Where could she find gumbo? That she needed to look for a new data company, decide on an employee contract, go back to the medical ward for her job, find a good beach to relax, a good bikini to wear to the beach, and a shave to wear the bikini. I need a vacation, Selena said, as she finished hooking up her left leg, staring at the floor but not really looking at anything. You do seem quite frazzled, Damon said, unhelpfully. Shut it, you, Selena said to her AI. I'll go over those documents later. Right now I need to shower, then run some diagnostic tests on myself, and then take Gert's hoverbike to wherever Ornog lives and get mine. I think I'll just get a moving company to do it. I do have some good news for you, Damon said. You can carry a non-powered edged or bladed weapon at all times, even in restricted areas, so long as the weapon is clearly visible, and you may challenge people in an official capacity to duels, upon terms agreed by both parties. Additionally, I found 4 suitable locations for your prospective medical plaza. That is good news, Selena replied. I'm going to shower. Can you get Vipix movers to switch my and Gert's hoverbike? I need done tonight, so pay them extra if you have to, okay? Wait, duels? Yes, formal duels to settle grievances, Damon said, his joy clear. It's from a very old Warutteri nobility law that has yet to be stricken down. However, the defender says what weapons may be used. Traditionally, the weapons typically employed were sabers, similar to that of Terran fencing rapiers. Well, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I've already amended all of your legal documents to reflect that you are Selena Rose Thomas, head of House Thomas, Damon said, pausing to let Selena process his words. As the head of a noble house, you are also able to have a vast array of weapons, regardless of their legality, for display, of course. How am I the head of a noble house? You just made this, I think. You are the head due to rite of passage, as you are the direct descendant of your father. The honorific of noble was acquired by virtue of Robert Christian Arios, being the first Terran to receive an award given by the Galactic Alliance, who is a brother-in-arms serving with your father during the Proxima Monarchy War, which makes him your uncle by combat, only to be further enforced by his helping to take care of you. Another point of legitimacy is that your house has also been formally recognized by Clan Daenerys when Rutak gifted you the entirety of his spoils by right of conquest. A final point of note is that anyone that served under your father, whom also helped take care of your medical procedures, are members of your house. I've already sent the requisite forms to Terra Prime, as well as the nearest Terran Republic embassy. This is going to come back and bite me in the ass, isn't it? Oh, most definitely. Selena sighed and said after a while, This is a lot to think about. How did you even come to do this? You told me to find you a way to legally keep them now your shard driver. Oh. I do love causing chaos for organics. Shut it, you, Selena said, getting out of her patient's chair. I'm going to go shower now. Bye. Finally laying down in the bathtub in her small bathroom, Selena's nose was just above the hot water, having filled the tub to near maximum capacity, her feet on the wall awkwardly above the FASA control touchscreen. It was almost blissful as she lay there, temporarily free from the worries of the world. Selena zoned out.
until the bath turned cold. Rutak awoke with a low groan. His everything hurt, especially his hand. His chest, too. Only when he was breathing. Pity, that. He stopped breathing, holding his breath, and was granted a respite from the dull throbbing of his fractured and broken ribs for a few moments, before his body betrayed him. Giving up on the notion of never needing to breathe again while alive, he looked around the hospital room. Everything was fairly standard, from the monitoring machines to the vidscreen system in the corner of the room. He wondered if Gerd was okay, suspecting that his hell-watered girlfriend was fine from the ordeal, being made of tougher stuff than himself. He had glanced at her more than once when she was fighting that augmented Nimian, and could not have been more in awe of the tiny Terran. He decided right then, when the two heavily augmented beings were pulling the mucus out of each other, that he was going to life-bond her. It mattered little if she wanted a polyamorous relationship or not, or even if she wanted another Terran to have children with. In that regard, of reproduction, the two of them were too genetically incompatible to sire children together, no matter how much genetic editing occurred. He was fine with that. Thoughts of his provocatively dressed girlfriend as a warrior goddess of old, smiting her enemies down with fist and foot, blood spraying all around her, covering her and pouring all around, sent desire rippling throughout his body. He forced himself to stop thinking on such a fantasy, lest he start something he would have difficulty in finishing. Looking for the button to summon a nurse and finding it next to his good hand, he pressed it and simply waited. He desperately needed to know what was going on with his friends. It took some time, but a nurse finally arrived into his room. "Oh, good, you're awake," an elderly sprawling man said, as he walked into the medical room. His bark-like skin was thickened with age. Soft and fuzzy moss had grown up around the thicker edges and crevices. His cranial flora had grown down past his knees, which was an impressive length, as the older gentleman was easily close to 7 feet tall, near the maximum recorded record of height for their entire species. The man held vestiges of once being very fit and strong, and, as he was clad in only a very colourful loincloth whose straps were absurdly thin, showing off many scars and divots of missing skin and muscle, as well as his exceptionally large endowments that swing about as he kept shifting his stance, the cloth covering doing far more to enhance his everything than to conceal, as was the intended effect. The sprawling nurse paused for a moment before speaking again. "Before you get to ask me questions, I need to ask you questions first." "Ask away." "How do you feel?" "Like I got hit by a train." "I expected that," the nurse said. "What do you last remember?" "Dosing myself with far more antitoxin than I should have been able to live through." "Excellent," the older man said. "Why did you have so much antitoxin tailored to your physiology on hand?" Rutak was not sure he liked the nurse's answers, but kept going. "Gert and I dated for a bit. You don't date Sproulings without precautions." No, you don't," the sprawling nurse said with a knowing grin. "Any vertigo? Headaches? Nausea?" "No, none of that." "Wonderful. I think it's safe to have you discharged, but I'm going to keep you another night just for observation," the old nurse said, then sighed. "Realistically, you should be dead from both the antitoxin and exposure to Miss Kokiribi Taeshi. Why you're still alive and kicking, I can't explain it. When we were filtering out your blood, there wasn't much of it left, but your heart kept beating, so we kept the procedure going, and did multiple transfusions. Whatever gods you have, they were looking out for you. I suggest you pray to them." "I will," Rutak said truthfully, then asked, "What happened to the other two I was with?" "Your sprawling friend is going to be discharged sometime today, with explicit instructions to not engage in any kind of strenuous physical activity for 20 rotations. And your Terran friend left 2 rotations ago." "Thank you. That's such a relief." "One more thing," your sprawling said. "If you can manage it, you need to complete a written statement. Otherwise I can arrange for someone to take dictation." "Dictation, please," Rutak said, then asked, "What's to become of my hand? It hurts a lot and I can't move it. I know there's not much to be done about my ribs." "Your hand, well, amputation and replacement are options," the nurse said, leaning against the doorway. "I'm of the opinion that it'll heal properly, provided that you don't do anything stupid with it. As to your ribs, you're right. Not much can be done. They will heal unless they get hit again." "That's what I thought," Rutak said. "And thank you." "It's no problem," the nurse said. "Is there anything else?" "I think that's it. Actually, do you know where my phone is? I need to make some calls." "It's powered off and fully charged, right over there." "Thanks," Rutak said, as the nurse left. He turned on his phone, waited for the alerts to finish pinging him, and then made phone calls. Gerd Kwekribri Tayeshi felt like a used physical contraceptive. Tired, used, and stretched out. Her side hurt badly, and the pain medication she'd been given barely did anything at all. Looking down at the stitching on her, she was reminded that she almost bled in. A large vascular connection to a very important organ had been cut, and her vital fluid simply spilled out into her abdominal cavity. To further the pain, her 2 upper ribs had been fractured, and the connective plate holding everything together had been broken by the far too powerful gauze pistol. She would be uncomfortable no matter what she did. Currently, she was laying face up on Selena's roof, the pleasant photoreactions of her skin doing far more to ease her pain than the medication prescribed. Her breasts, not as large as her Terran friends, but still more than adequate, proved to be a detriment, as their weight simply hurt or made it hard to breathe, especially away from the sun. She dared not lay on her side nor face down. The absolute worst part of everything was that she could not even find true physical release from everything she was enduring. She could not move her hips and abdomen without tearing up her stitching. She could not have someone on top of her because of her ribs and connecting plate. The sunshine of the bright blue star not only eased her pain from the lackluster medication, it made her want, and filled the air with her need and desire that Selena says smell like roses. Maybe, if she asked nicely, Selena would help a girl out. Gerd would be waiting a long time to ask, as Selena was at the Tau V Security Forces medical facility, attending her duties. She was desperate, and truly hoped Selena would help her out. She'd do anything.